What's going on, Uncle? How's it going?
I'm doing very well. Hold up. Finally, good to see you. It's good to see you, man.
It's great to see you.
Ramon's supposed to be joining us on the show. Welcome to the Neoliberal Round podcast. Today we celebrate 1 year. Today is July 17th. And I have with us, I actually decided to have joined me a couple persons, probably one or two persons. Sheldon McKenzie. You can say hello, Sheldon.
Great to be here. It's great to be here. First of all, thank you for inviting me in this momentous occasion, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, definitely. And I'm going to tell a little bit about Sheldon. He's my nephew, of course, but he's not young. He's not a youngster. He's a mature young man.
Come on.
Very mature, an academic, doing his master's. Where are you doing your master's?
I'm actually doing my MBA at Rutgers University. So, I took a little time away from an exam study to make some time for you. So,
yes, and you can give me like.
You just heard at the beginning Sheldon McKenzie, who actually spent about 44 minutes to ask me a range of questions about the Neoliberal Corporation and the Neoliberal Round podcast, which we will get back to that in a few minutes. But just before we get into that, good evening. I am Ronaldo McKenzie.
And I am Donte Nelson.
This is the Neoliberal Round podcast. Today we are 1 year old, and to mark our anniversary, Sheldon McKenzie interviewed me about the podcast and the Neoliberal Round and the Neoliberal Corporation, and explored what's next with the podcast and with Ronaldo McKenzie, yours truly. Now, we published our first podcast on the Anchor platform entitled Prelude to the Beginning on July 17th, 2021. We have since published 74 audio episodes with a few bonus video shows that's available on the Spotify platform. We are a news commentary podcast that is all about making popular what was the monopoly, which is the aim of communication as we seek to serve the world today to solving tomorrow's challenges, which is what the Neoliberal Corporation is all about. We will get into my...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can't. What were you going to say?
That was the clash there. I was responding to it, just saying yes it is.
Indeed. And that's what the Neoliberal Corporation is all about, serving the world today. And you're going to hear me talk about that when you were at the interview. Actually, you listened in, you were there when I was being interviewed just a few minutes ago, live and then video by Mr. McKenzie. And but we will get into my interview on the show today. But before that, we will have Breaking the Ice with Donte Nelson, and then Sheldon interviews me. After the interview, I will add a recording from the first podcast show entitled Prelude to the Beginning. That's the one that we did on July 17th. That's only available on the Anchor platform. but we will have it available for you. We will have it available for you on this episode. So after you have the breaking the ice, then you have the interview. Sheldon interviews me. So instead of me interviewing, I am being interviewed. And then right after that, you'll hear the first show that we did, the prelude to the beginning, which is only like about 16 minutes long. Now,
Yes, but it's very good.
Thank you so much.
Very good.
And just so you know, we are a top-ranked and growing podcast with listeners worldwide, and we provide a staple of information for everyone. The Neoliberal Round is free, and you can subscribe and or donate at https://anchor.fm/the neoliberal/support. And as we celebrate 1 year, we invite you to donate to the show in whatever amount you can, so that we can continue to provide free and cutting-edge show that is top-notch and well-researched. Thank you so much for being a valued supporter of this podcast. And the sky is the limit for us as you journey with us. Coming up next, Breaking the Ice with Donte Nelson. Listen as he tries to break this ice. And then after that, the interview with Sheldon McKenzie. Donte, there was a plane. I don't know, but United Airways, one of them big commercial planes that was carrying passengers, about 200 passengers, on a commercial flight, and it was going to Jamaica, and the plane was traveling passing between the continent of the U.S. or the continent of America and the continent of Europe. But the plane went down between the continent of America and the continent of Europe. Where do you think they buried the survivors?
I don't think they buried them.
Why do with them? What?
I'm thinking because I don't know. I don't know. You would think it would be, either or, that the men are buried, but then again, what would they do? You got to put yourself in their perspective.
Whose perspective? But I mean,
the men that's making that decision on, going ahead with a whole burial, and
where would you? Okay, if you had the decision, where would you bury them?
That's a good decision.
Traveling between the continents of America and Europe.
Well, me being me,
yeah,
I would say wherever they are at,
let them stay there
and bury them, in a nice, comfortable, area so they can rest.
Yeah.
And go to the next life. But I'm not just gonna waste time just to send.
Yo, this is quite interesting. But I mean, I'm gonna ask you the question again. A commercial jet plane, you have 200 passengers traveling between the continent of America and Europe. The plane went down. The plane crashed. Where do you bury the survivors?
Oh, I thought they were dead.
You don't bury the survivors, right?
I thought they were dead. The plane crashed.
Yeah. But it's a trick question. It have you, remember when I asked you the question earlier? It's like you're not thinking, it have you thinking, so this is actually a warm-up exercise. Your mind was somewhere else. You know what I mean, right?
We saved the last part again. The plane crashed.
The plane crashed. Where do you bury the survivors?
Okay.
You don't bury the survivors.
Well, I did say.
But trust me, I've asked this question and they say, well,
I
below
did
the
give
sea.
you that answer though.
I mean,
Like that
well, I
was the-
find out where the from. One guy said, I found out where the family's from. And
Well,
then
those are the answers
using
that I
the
had.
information from the airlines and
Very And so I was right there.
This, you're listening to the Neoliberal Round podcast. This is Breaking the Ice with Donte Nelson.
Hey, what's going on, Uncle? How's it going?
I'm doing very well. Hold up. Finally, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, man.
It's great to see you.
Ramon's supposed to be joining us on the show. Welcome to the Neoliberal Round podcast. Today we celebrate 1 year. Today is July 17th. And I have with us, I actually decided to have joined me a couple persons, probably one or two persons. Sheldon McKenzie. You can say hello, Sheldon.
Great to be here. It's great to be here. First of all, thank you for inviting me in this momentous occasion, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, definitely. And I'm going to tell a little bit about Sheldon. He's my nephew, of course, but he's not young. He's not a youngster. He's a mature young man.
Come on.
Very mature, an academic, doing his master's. Where are you doing your master's?
I'm actually doing my MBA at Rutgers University. So, I took a little time away from an exam study to make some time for you. So,
yes, and you can give me like 10 minutes because, Ramon is not with us. I don't think he is.
No, not as yet.
But that's fine. But we're happy to have you. So this is the Neoliberal podcast, and we started, as I said, July 17th. Today marks 1 year ago that we started the podcast. And let me tell you how we got this started. I blogged, and if you listen to the podcast, you might hear me say I started blogging in 2010, and I started with Blogger News or blogspot.com, which was ronaldocmckenzie.blogspot.com. And at the time, I also started University of Penn in 2010. But Barack Obama was president at the time. I actually looked at what I did on today, July 17th, and I think there was some kind of law, too big to fail law that Congress gave to that they were deliberating on about regulating derivatives and so on and so forth. And I think I had said that. I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to affect people's credit. I don't know if that actually happened. I think that happened some years ago. And also on today, July 17th, what happened? Oh, I think Gaza, Israel invaded the Gaza. Yes, I think some years ago. Was it 12 years ago today or 6 years ago? I can't remember. I saw that a couple of years ago. And of course, today, the Neoliberal Round podcast started. But I started blogging. And I stopped for a little bit after I graduated from Penn, but then I started again when I realized I was going to publish a book. About 2 years, in 2018 or 16, I started back up the blog. And then somebody said, why don't you do a podcast? And I'm like, no, it's too expensive. But they sent me the link. One of my fans sent me the link. And now I have over 70 episodes. We've interviewed so many different people. So, today I'm going to let Sheldon, take it over. Sheldon actually also inspired me because I heard he and some of his friends were doing a podcast. And I said, oh, you do podcast? I'm thinking about doing one. But
on Anchor?
You did a podcast on Anchor?
It was actually on Anchor. So this is why it was very coincidental.
Yes.
But no, it was, so just to kind of take it back to what you spoke about in your beginnings and how you started to engage some of these conversations. I think a lot of the geopolitical situations that you spoke about, it's funny because you can literally put 12 years ago and put it to right now where we are and kind of still being in the same, not the exact situation, but the same type of geopolitical environment, especially today with the tense situation that we're dealing with. So it's a lot of parallels that we're finding. So I guess even now you can probably look at those papers and writings that you've done and kind of link those pieces. So that's one part of it. And yeah, I mean, just to speak on the platform itself, as a podcast, I think it's a very interesting way that a lot of I think academic writers such as yourself and a lot of I want to say political thought and theorists have really gone out and really get the word out of that, and their ideas out, I guess, in a more broadened spectrum, because a lot of 20 years, 50 years ago, your works would have been in textbooks and just limited to that academic field. I think, when you look at that space, I think today a lot more people, and that's a part of modernization, the common man coming to information in certain mediums that they really wouldn't have had 50, 40, 100 years ago. So I think that's one of the great things about, not just the internet, but the online avenue that you have here at the podcast. I'm not saying you are a common man, by no sense of imagination, but I would say someone as if I venture into the world of ignorant about certain topics that you speak about, can find your work and really think and have a lot of discussions about things that we weren't really thinking about some 40 years ago. So it's a really good medium, really good medium. And Anchor, obviously, it was just coincidence.
Yes, I did not know that you were an anchor as well. Do you still have your podcast?
So we still have the page, we still have everything. We took a break. Hey, life happened. People got married and having kids, and everyone just completely stopped. And that's something where, and that's why I can say, being a part of that Anchor community, I know the type of work that you have to put in to keep up that consistency that you have. I think your job is way harder than my job. See, my platform was completely for jokes, completely for entertainment, and finding what you've done with your platform is really remarkable, in the sense that you are reporting on these geopolitical things. You are reporting on the news as it is, and offering commentary, but also because you're a writer and because you have a lot of these thoughts and ideas, you've had to present these ideas and be brave, because you've had to not just defend it in the way you move, but also in the way you present it, and having an integrity about the type of news that you display and even present to your audience. So it's you, like I said, you have a really more difficult job than I had. I mean, I was talking about pop culture, which is so much easier. I felt like I was E-Entertainment or one of these, side trivial bloggers, but it's definitely a realm that I think it's a brave realm to be in, that you are in right now. And I really appreciate it. And it's something that I tune into on my way to work and right before I listen to the Wall Street news, and really just trying to keep that sense, because a lot of what you talk about does have some parallels from not just a theoretical or conceptual, but definitely practical sense. A lot of the things that's happening in the geopolitical scene is connected to what's Wall Street. You spoke about the too big to fail, really the too big to fail, I guess, deal, or, it was one of the quote unquote babies of Barack Obama's administration, and looking at where banking is today, and the financial field, and some of the quote unquote so-called mistakes that the Fed made, right, with some of their policies and some of the monetary tightening that we're seeing now. It's just remarkable to see. And for me, I was still in school, so I'm reading it through the books and textbooks. So now I'm living it. So it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? It's kind of like, for a young professional like myself, it's a big shock. So, so I guess that's a good segue into what I kind of wanted to discuss with you.
Yes, definitely. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if your audience knows, but Ronaldo has always been a very competitive person, and whether it's being on the theater of athletics, whether it's been debates, like, you are consistently competitive. Even in a simple board game, we don't like to play board games at our house because it gets to like Olympian level. But
yes, that is true.
I think, based on that personality and that characteristic about yourself, and going back to what I said about having that braveness to not only present your ideas but also to defend it. How did that competitiveness or quality that you have how did that help you in your journey with the podcast and really getting your ideas out there?
Yes, you're right. I'm very competitive because I'm a twin, and and you're a twin.
Yeah,
I am a twin, and I was talking to somebody today. Actually, my twin brother he was much better at me at sports, at every single sport. It doesn't matter what sport it is, he's gonna dominate me. And if he is new to the sport and I've been in there for a while, but he takes up for the first time, he beats me. So I was always, So I decided, I said, okay, I can't beat my twin brother but I was already competitive, but and I'm from Jamaica, of course, and they have that competitive spirit, track and field, and we used to do track a lot. So I think trying to excel, so that's where the competitive edge can come from, because I was always competing with my twin brother, and even up to as we got older, and he was in HR, we both were in HR, we competed. Then he did finance, I did finance. We competed. His branch versus my branch. We are always competing. So I think that has helped me to push because I want to make the Neoliberal podcast one of the number one top 10 podcasts in news commentary. And right now we were in February we were like in the top 90 in Canada on the Apple platform. But now we're on Amazon Music, and Amazon just invited me to be an influencer. And we are also now on Radio Public, which is in Canada and the US and all over the other world. We're on Apple Podcasts, of course, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podvine, PA Adverb. We are on almost every single, and I keep working and putting out content, and it's not easy, as you said. So I compete with myself as well. And not only that, when I did it, I also wanted to publish my book. So, somebody said to me, I'm an old person. I want to hear you. I can't really read what you write. Can you? So at first, when I started the podcast, I was probably reading some of my writings. But then eventually it morphed into creating original shows and interviewing people. And so the shows so that has helped me, and I'm very competitive. I'm very spiritual. I'm a man of faith, although I don't believe in any one particular faith. I believe faith is a personal matter. If you believe in conservative Christianity, and if it's valuable for you, I say all power to you. And so I respect all people's faith, all people's spirituality. If you believe if that's what I believe in, but if you believe in car worship, I respect that too. That's how I am. I've come to value that everything is personal. Yeah. And but the podcast is I've met so many different people. I've learned a lot about digital technology. I've learned so much, man. Podcast is a great way to promote yourself, if you're going into business. And I said to people, the greatest thing that has happened is that for movement and for people all over the world is the decentralization of information. And right now I was reading that everybody's calling for the defunding of NPR. People want NPR to be defunded because NPR just announced a new disinformation team. So now they have a team, and their focus is on disinformation, or removing disinformation, and so on and so forth. And people are thinking that it's attacking Donald Trump people, or the people who attacked January 6th, the January 6th insurrectionists, or it's attacking Republicans or conservatives or whatever the case might be. But what I have said is that I don't believe in this. Fighting. Well, I don't believe in disinformation. I don't believe in selling false information and so on. But I don't believe we should regulate it. I think people should have critical thinking skills and should be educated enough to say what is news and what is not news. But because what is helping me and so on, because because of social media, information is now decentralized. There's no monopoly. So the podcast creates a great opportunity. Podcast is really revolutionary, man. And yeah, so I talk about a lot of different stuff just now.
No, I know. It's good to hear that, and like I said, I know you are competitive, and I know that when you are that competitive, and there's so many different avenues, like you said, so many ways to get your information out, and you keep meeting people. I guess that leads into my next question, which is, how do you, keep yourself focused to one central vision and one central point? Basically, what is your vision for the platform and for yourself, and do those really align holistically? So the platform podcast might have a different trajectory or a different path that you want to go to, but you as a person, you're more than a platform. If the platform wasn't there, the podcast was there, you'd still be trying, you still try to get your information out. So how do you see those being what's the vision for yourself and the platform? And I'm kind of having some technical issues here. I think that's why I'm kind of like looking at you all weird if I am, but
well, you're turned a bit sideways, so you're like
I am sideways now?
Yes,
oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure what's going on. So,
but that's fine. This probably gonna have audio. I'm probably gonna do a video. I'll probably fix it. But yeah, that's a good point you made. That's a very good question. The podcast has gotten to a level where I didn't intend it. Actually, we've gotten a lot of followers, a lot of fans. A lot of people are listening to the podcast or watching. We have a few video. If you have Spotify, some of the podcasts can be seen on video, but anything else is an audio. But the podcast has really done a lot. I'm just giving God thanks for the podcast. I've learned a lot about myself, what I can do. I've discovered new things about myself. And the podcast is part of the Neoliberal Corporation. The Neoliberal Corporation is a think tank, news commentary, digital and social media company. It's a publishing company. When I published my book, the book is published through Palmetto, but with my company as well, the Neoliberal Corporation. And it's also a research company. And right now I'm working with somebody to publish their book, and helping with research and so the podcast provides a great opportunity. It's one aspect of what I do, one aspect of the Neoliberal Corporation. So it's not the only thing I do. We also have the Neoliberal commentary that's in LinkedIn. We also have blogs. I also have the Neoliberal Posts toward the Caribbean Journal. We have several journals and feeds. I have a lot of research. So it's a whole news bank in a sense, and opportunities. People can access information and resources about mentoring, about academia, and other stuff I'm working on. So the podcast is one aspect, and I will continue to grow the podcast. What I want to do is the podcast will remain free. Right now it's free of cost to listen to the podcast. We are on Apple. I think but we also do another segment called Street Vibe. So my plan was to do where we go into the public and talk to people. So I'm thinking having the Street Vibe I'm going to make that into subscription, turn that into some kind of subscription. People have to get a subscription for that. But all the other episodes are free. I'm not thinking about that. I'll probably have to. But I'm not sure yet, because I believe in information being people should be able to access information. So we are hoping that people can continue to donate to the show so that we can grow. We want to have our own podcast studio. We want to hire other people to work with us. We want the podcast to be major. I want to turn the podcast into something major. Or, we'd love to have a major news agency sponsor us or pick us up. And but we will continue to put, and I'm an academic, I'm a researcher, I'm a doctoral student, I do research. So the content that I put out, it's top notch, it's well researched. And I always say it's, the information is I provide a particular perspective, but it's not only my perspective, there are other perspectives. So my goal, I really appreciate the podcast. My goal is to go to the next level. I hope to have President Obama on the show. I hope to have LeBron James on the show. I hope to have President Joe Biden on the show. I've reached out to him. I hope to have Stephen A. Smith, Kevin Harrington. I hope to have powerful people on the show, because everybody, podcast has an interesting listenership. People are not really listening to radio and TV as much. People are listening. listening or watching podcasts and streams. That's what people are streaming now. That is the way of the future. That's where people put out information. And by the way, if you have an idea, the first thing you're going to do, you have to establish a presence. One of the ways you establish a presence is through podcasts or through blogging, is through social media. Take advantage of the opportunities and the fact that information is decentralized through these things. It's a great way, but right now they're trying to re-regulate it. I'm against regulating these social media, alternative media. I'm against that completely. If people go on Twitter and they don't like what they see, click block. You have that.
So actually, that's a good point that you made about the regulation of social media. On that point, I do have a question that I want to ask you. Is and I think we've spoken about this in text message. It seems that social media, specifically Twitter, which I think I have like 10 Twitter accounts and I've removed them 5 times and gone back on the platform. It's just something. It's a messy platform to me, but I still come back. I don't know why. I guess I'm back to the meme. So the question I want to ask, in the environment or the ecosystem or the app, or I'd say the social environment that is social media, do you feel like there is a singular push towards a, how can I put this? I guess it's more of a radical leftist, or maybe it's really like that. More like, is there a push towards radical leftist type ideas where it's a lack of there's not two-sided conversations on social media. Like, you and I can't get into a debate where we have different ideas, where I'm more conservative and you're more liberal. I don't see a lot of those happening. Where I see a lot is the conservative ideas and discussions or debates are being really censored and muted on social media versus in favor of the left. Do you see that as an issue, or is that something where it's just a changing and it reflects the change of a generation where mostly Gen Z and millennials, younger millennials are more left leaning than the other?
Social media, you have to. That's a very good point you made. You're probably going to helping me answer the question already, because yes, Gen Z, younger people, millennial or post-millennials, they are just more about fashion and looking good and smelling good and enjoying life and social media and digital media. And yes, they are very liberal and very left-leaning. So social media caters to that kind of crowd. So I guess that is why social media is kind of trying to muting those kind of discussion, which I am against. I am for. It affects what this country is built on: freedom of expression. People, and then of course people get hypersensitive about
certain topics.
Certain topics and extremism. For example, people want to be responsible for encouraging or facilitating extremism or anything like January 6th. So people want to now take more people want to be more responsible. So they say, you know what, we're not going to promote those things. So I think so, and that is important. But at the same time, you don't want to take away people's free speech. So I think what needs to happen is that there needs to be healthy conversation. If people want to have right-leaning conversations and promote anti-abortion sentiments or abortion, whatever the case might be, people should be allowed to do that. Because what happens is that they create their own platforms and they create a platform for people and bring people to that, and they don't know what other people are saying. When you have a general platform like this, then it creates a greater understanding. People become even more aware, and you can still influence people in a sense. So I think you have to be careful that you are not censoring these conversations, because they're going to create their own thing, and people are going to find it, and people will still be influenced. So it takes away from what we're trying to do, was to promote freedom of speech, take away the monopoly, because communication is to make popular what was the monopoly. There should be no monopoly. So I am against liberals, and And I'm against. I don't. I'm not gonna. I'm not left, and I'm not right. Okay, what I am, I'm a critical thinker. So there's some reasoning. I listen to what I want to hear. What people on the right are saying. I want to hear what people on the left are saying, so that I can come away with, so that I can be a more rounded person. And I can be more understanding. Say, for example, I said on the issue of abortion, why can't the liberals understand why, just as though you want to protect the ozone layer or protect the earth, okay, the same reasons, probably the same reasons that the conservatives want to protect life, in a sense. But they're talking across each other,
Right.
So I believe it's very important for us to have to leave them alone, let people talk, let people go crazy, but develop critical thinking.
Responsibly.
Yes.
No, it's a sentiment. I echo your sentiments in the sense that I believe, and you spoke about this, about the transformation of the digital age in a sense where social media has become the new forum. Folks are going to social media more than they go to their town hall meetings.
That is true.
As I think about these things, that, being someone who studied history in my undergrad, and think about, back, I'd say 1900s and before, that was a way for people to write certain exposés and really explain their ideas and how they think about things. And even in churches, they used to do that as well and really come together and get their ideas out. But now today, I believe social media has taken that public forum. It's taken the face of that public forum. And like you said, limiting and muting it is kind of detrimental to that, not just the constitutional right, but it's dangerous because what happens, and I think this happened in the last election where, the last two elections where people were surprised that Donald Trump won. And I'm like, that's because you muted the other side. You didn't know what other people were saying, set across from you.
Oh, and by the way, I can see you now. Wow. Yes, you look much better.
I still can't see you. Hopefully something happens here. But no, I definitely think, social media is that forum. And I think there's gonna be a time when the social media companies have to take that social responsibility and understand that it's a public forum and really begin to protect the rights of freedom of speech. So it's a good. I'm pretty sure this won't be the first time you're gonna engage that. I know you've talked about it in the past, and it's something that is a big topic of today. I guess the final question, as I run my time down, I'm not sure how much time you have, but
I think we only have 30 minutes for this podcast. So after a while, it's just going to go blank. So we have probably 5 minutes left. Yes.
I'll get the last question out. So I guess, Ronaldo McKenzie, what advice would you have given yourself on July 16th, 2021? Or in retrospect, what advice would you have given yourself before you embarked on this podcast journey?
When I did my first podcast, I think it was midnight. It was to be honest, I started the whole platform and production January 16th. But I actually published it on January 17th. So I actually started the whole process on the 16th. But I don't know. I was nervous about it. I wasn't sure what the expectations were. I didn't know I would have had 70 episodes. I thought I would have probably started it and then that was it. In fact, when the day before I did my first podcast, I was thinking about my book because I had just published my first book, Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. And I wanted an opportunity to talk about it, but I also started teaching the Jamaica Theological Seminary, Caribbean Thought, which is, it's not really Caribbean thought, it's just a Pan-African thinking, a way of thinking about thinking. It's really critical thinking that considers Caribbean and Pan-African issues. So that was happening. So it was just so much was happening. Ideas were bursting in my head. I was writing and I was blogging and writing, and somebody just said, "You've got to blog." Oh my God. you have so much coming out. I was writing every day, and somebody said, "Whoa, dude, you got a lot of content." And somebody said, one person said I can't see. So in my head, when I got it together, I had to think about the name. I mean, what do I want to name it? And I thought about the Neoliberal, and people were saying, "What kind of name is that?" One of the persons that David Fair, who I just interviewed, who's going to be in the HBO documentary Eyes on the Prize, said, "I thought you were some crazy person. Anytime somebody hears the name the Neoliberal, they think I'm some ultra conservative, new conservative extremist person." But I thought about the Neoliberal. I thought about the strategy. I studied strategy, and it sounded very well. So, but I was just looking forward to it. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect, and trial and error, and I learned a lot. And you even said you're one of my first supporters on the show. You are saying, "Oh, Ronaldo, you're improving. I see it's coming together." And I'm like, yes, it is coming together.
So I guess from those improvements, what's the main one that you feel like if you had learned sooner rather than later, it would have definitely gotten you to where you are, if more efficiently or faster than you actually got there?
Oh, I know how to edit, go inside, and I didn't know I could. I put out some podcasts, and my podcast is supposed to be clean, but there's one or two podcasts with some words I did not want to be out. But I didn't know how to cut and go inside the audio clip and to flag and to cut that section and remove it, and you can add an audio and put it in, and then you can record on a recorder device and plug it in. I am telling you, I am a G on the Anchor platform. I love the Anchor platform is amazing. So, you can go in and you can edit and you could insert within a particular section. I didn't know I could do all that. I thought once you put it in there and a whole chunk of it is there, it's just there. You can't edit. You can only trim point, start and end point.
You can the time series and then cut it out. Yep.
Yes,
I've done that. Yep.
So, and of course,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and of course, I learned that and how to monetize the audio. I didn't know how to do the audio, but now I know how to do audio. We're still working on audio, but I think I'm going to be doing more audio moving forward. But yeah, I'm still learning though. We just made 1 year, so I was torn with the idea of putting subscription, but I said no. I like the free version. Make it free. People could donate to us. Donate to us, guys. And donate to us. We have listenership all over the world. We almost reached about 2,000 plays on Anchor alone. So that's really good. So that's where we are. But we plan to put out more. I'm going to be speaking at the conference in San Antonio, Texas, at the AGLSP, the Association of Graduate Studies. That's for liberal studies. So I'll be speaking there. The podcast will be there. But we're going to have a lot more shows. We hope to interview some other great people, but also regular people. We go to the streets and interview the small man on the street, on the corner. We want to get his opinion. Everybody who has a vote has an opinion, and everyone that has an opinion will have a chance to come on this show. Okay, and we are close to the stories we say.
Now, looking, and I wasn't completely truthful because I promise this is my last one. What do you envision for your second anniversary? So 1 year from now, where do you see your platform and really the entire neoliberal platform, on the world stage? What do you see? What will make you happy as far as, a year from now to say, yes, we've reached that 2 year goal?
Well, right now I'm trying to get. I've been working on getting a license, a press license. We don't have a press license right now, so we're hoping to get that because I've been interviewing people about stories that matters to people, stories that's very important. Interviewing presidential candidates and other political candidates, and I need access. I need that kind of access. I think that's the next big thing that we're working on. What's the other part of the question you say?
I'd say so the next thing you're working on is the press license or media license.
Yes.
Now, is that something that would be satisfactory for the platform a year from now? Like, that is the one defining thing that year 2, celebrate the second year, champagne's up, bottles up, all good.
I want more ads. I want more companies to recognize us and to approach us to do ads. I want more people to do ads with us. That's another big thing. I want to put up much more professional. Yeah, the good thing about podcasts is, it's down to earth and so on, but at the same time, I want to also have a professional aspect to it. I want to have a nice studio where we can have people come in come in as guests and so on and so forth. I really want to take the show to the next level. I even want to have some kind of studio audience, inviting people to come and, I want to open up the podcast to the public and, I have a special time to do the podcast. Some podcasts we can come and join us, have panel discussions and so on and so forth. I want to take it to the next level. So that's my plan for the podcast and continue writing. I have a book coming out and I hope between now and next year, I hope to have 2 more books. I already have 3 manuscripts. I'm not ready to release the books yet, but we have the manuscripts are ready. We want to have more discussions on my podcast, invite more guests. We're supposed to be getting people like Breadman, who's a rapper. I want to have some rappers on my podcast, some musicians to talk about about music. And because music is very important. Music affects people at the psychological level, at the emotional level. It affects us in a very intimate way, and it moves us, it inspires us. And so when we talk about what's going on in America and how we can bring about change, you also want to think about musicians, and I want to get musicians on here to talk about what can musicians do. I want to get people like Hobson, and I did a show about that looks at Ill Mind of Hobson 7, and he did a show. And I want to get some rappers and talk to them about what's going on, in our society and how they have a responsibility to create change and to inspire, to motivate. I want to get people like the people who game creators from Grand Theft Auto, from the PS, from Sony, to talk about gaming and what can we do, as a society, because this show, the Neoliberal Corporation is serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. And I say to you, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And so we have to look at human nature. And we have to look at society as a whole. And this podcast is part of the Neoliberal Corporation that look at in a deeper level how we can solve the problem of tomorrow by dealing with the problem of today and dealing with the challenges of today. And I talk about race as a pseudoscience. How as a society we are conditioned to think in racial terms, and racial terms is detrimental to society. And I said, look what's happening in Russia, look what's happening in the world, look at what's happening with January 6th. It's because we have a particular way of thinking, and so because we think that we are competing,
more of a group identity.
Yes, right. That is the detriment. That is the death of us. And you look at and I wrote an article in LinkedIn. I said, who ruled the world today? Who rules the world? William Dumhoff in a 2010 book wrote a book that says corporation rules America. So who rules America? The corporation. But today I went beyond that by asking in the article, who rules corporations? China. And I said people thought I was crazy, but now you look at the FEP, the foreign policy, and the Associated Press has a report that says the leadership in NATO and the European Union, the leadership is shifting east. It's more China and Russia. And I talk about the world having more. We have to look at. So when this podcast, look at power, look at strategy, look at critical thinking, look at ways we can, and I talk about those kind of issues. I say we need to think more strategic. We need more young people to look at digital technology. And these countries in China and Russia, they are monolithic countries, and because they're monolithic and how they think strategically, and how they are utilizing strategy to affect a country like America, which is not monolithic, we deal with so many issues on this show. I've talked about some of the stuff I've raised with you, and so this show is relevant. And we talk about sports, we talk about purpose. Like I did a show on committed spirituality, which is great. We're helping people to find purpose, which is powerful. I did a show on period poverty that looks at how people are trying to end period poverty, which helps to create poverty, which affects United Nations 2030 goal. Because here we are, women's menstrual cycle, they drop out of school, they can't finish education, and what happens? Let me tell you, this show provides a staple of information, and we hope to continue. We hope to. I hope to have you. One of the goals of the show, is to have you on the show, and for you to probably even have, and for you to have your own guests, and to have some of the episodes is just you and your guests. That's what we want to do in the future. We want to have other co-hosts hosting the program, putting out stuff, and I can probably focus on producing and still coming on the show doing some more stuff. But we want to be a major news commentary agency with a different, not like CNN,
Right.
but because we want to take the news to the people. We want to go to the boardroom. We want to go to the White House. But we also want to go to the streets. We are very anthropological, but we're very academic as well. So yes.
Well, that is those are lofty, but definitely realistic and smart goals to just be cliche and use the acronym. I definitely could see there's definitely a sense of direction, and you're doing a great job in not just delivering the news, but really presenting solutions. And I think that's what a lot of people are seeking nowadays. And I think even you can do a simple search on YouTube and type in what's the secret of happiness, or what can I do about this problem, or and then you get like 1,000 search results, because people are searching for purpose, searching for solutions, and your platform is definitely one of those that offer it and with high integrity. So I would just end right there and say, congratulations on 1 year anniversary. And definitely when we get together, when we have the ability to get together in person, we definitely have to bring the champagne out and celebrate. So it's great to see you, and it's good to catch up. And thank you for having me again on the show. I look forward to our future conversations.
And yes, thank you so much. And just so you know, Mr. McKenzie, Sheldon McKenzie here, he's also working. He's a financier, junior executive at some financial company.
So I am a junior banker at U.S. Bank. I've actually recently celebrated 5 years, and it's been a great journey, and it's something that I like. And as you know, I also was a captain in the U.S. Army, so no longer left my obligation. It was completed after 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of things have happened, and, it's just definitely panning out well, I think, with everything that I have going on with school and work. So like I said, it's a great opportunity for me to kind of, sit back and figure out the next steps of my career. And it's just great to see you and your inspiration and your journey that you're doing kind of give me some direction too. So always great catching up.
And and I try to keep, no matter what I talk about in the podcast, I always bring it back to power, always bring it back to society. I always bring it back to issues that we talk about on this podcast. But this podcast has really helped me when I was going through very difficult times. This podcast kept me going too, because it really helped me. So, but it's great. And we're gonna be doing more. This podcast, I can turn it around and take the information, turn it into a note, get notes from it, and write another book, in fact. But this is where we're going to leave the podcast. Thank you so much, guys. We're hoping to have Ricardo McKenzie, who will do one of the first podcasts with us on relationships. And many of you have been asking about Ricardo. We will have him on the show, my twin brother. We will have him, guys. I know you guys are waiting for that time. We had him before. All right. And that you will get a chance to hear Sheldon again. We really appreciate you coming on and hosting this show today. This is the Neoliberal podcast. Yes. And just, we are raising awareness. We're trying to promote tennis in neighborhoods. We give free tennis rackets out to people in neighborhoods. So if you have broken rackets or you have rackets that you're not using, send them to us at the Neoliberal Around, at the Neoliberal Corporation or the Neoliberal Around podcast. Email me at ReinaldoCMcKenzie@gmail.com or the Neoliberal at ReinaldoCMcKenzie.com or ReinaldoCMcKenzie@theneoliberal.com. Or you can get with me at 267-317-9202, which is the Neoliberal Corporation's phone number, and donate to us at https://anchor.fm/the Neoliberal/support. If you haven't supported us yet, 99 cents per month, $4.99 per month, whatever it may be, look for that page and click on donate and share it with your friends and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheldon, and take care.
Take care. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Well, good.
That was the interview with Mr. Sheldon McKenzie, who happens to be my nephew, and I was grateful that he spent the time in his busy schedule to sit down with me and to ask me some questions about the podcast and how it came to be, and what's next. Coming up next on the podcast is the prelude to the beginning, where I will share with you a recording of our first show, which was done on July 17th, 2021. It wasn't a complete episode. It was about 5 minutes, and it was entitled Prelude to the Beginning. Here is the show right after this. Good night or good morning, everyone. It's 12:15 a.m. I am in Germantown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is, what day is today? Let me check. Today is the 17th of July, and I am doing my first podcast, which is a random introduction. Let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm Ronaldo McKenzie, and I have a website, and a company is called the Neoliberal Corporation, otherwise known as the Neoliberal, which is a think tank, a publishing, social media entity, so to speak, and we go by a slogan, which is serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges. But I wrote a book as well, which is published. It's called Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance, which was published in paperback first on April 27th of this year, but now it's out in paperback. It's also out in it's out in hardcover and in ebook. We completed the audiobook for the Audible, and that should be out soon. I think in about 2 more days. I'm just awaiting the ACX team to approve it. But I blog regularly, sometimes twice a day, sometimes every minute, sometimes every day. But and I blog about issues of power. I blog about issues that impact the society, issues of human values and ethics. I talk about sports, finance, Caribbean issues, just about any issue that you can think about. And I will tell you some more about myself, but this is going to be probably a 5-minute introduction. I will be having at least a weekly or daily blog, but this is my first blog, so I have a blog, a website, my own domain, it's the neoliberal.com, and I have some followers. So one of my followers on the website who interacts and reads my blog sent me an email saying that she'd love for me to start a blog. A podcast. But I always thought that podcasts were very elaborate and difficult, and it requires a lot of financing. But then she sent it. I came to understand after she sent me that email saying how she follows the blog, she's and recommending that. But she said that she reads it a lot, but she can't. Her eyesight is going, so I suspect that she's an older lady. And she even sent me links to start a podcast. And I've been thinking about starting podcasts for quite some time, because there's so much I write about and talk about. And honestly, I am going to be using, especially the next couple of weeks and months, talking about the book. I'm launching the book on the podcast, lifting up certain topics, current topics, and topics that I have already discussed. So I am inviting you to tune into my blog, and I hope that you will share it with your friends. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. It's going to be academic. It's going to be inviting. It's going to be polite. You may feel uncomfortable, but never disrespectful. Never disrespecting. Because if you read my blog, the Neoliberal, ReinaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com, ReinaldoCMcKenzie.blogspot.com, you will see where I say, what is the ultimate of all things? The ultimate of all things is that we become one with all our individuality. This concludes the 74th episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. I am Ronaldo McKenzie.
And I am Donte Nelson.
Walk good.